Welcome to another exciting episode of SapiensTalks. This is going to be very insightful because what we're going to talk about today is yes, somewhere now dealing with the people's life because we are living in this technological world, we are living in this digital world, and nowadays people are drawing some comparisons between themselves and other people, and this comparison is somewhere erodes their confidence, and people find it difficult to go with the kind of confidence they have in themselves. The thing we are going to talk about is as I come across people and they have got one thing that they are not good enough. They think that they are not good enough and they are not able to be like other people. They say this because they want to be like others. Somewhere they have imagined or visualized themselves to be like other people, because we often say that we should have some people we can walk in the no in their footprints, and therefore we start mimicking, and we start imitating those people, thinking that we are going to be like them. And I think in this um I would say in this, it is going to be a wild goose chase, right?
Right.
Because somewhere in following other people, you lose your own identity. I'm not saying that we should not be taking any lesson from other people's life. We should not be, following other people. But at the same time, we should also not be losing our own identity because we are unique. If I ask you to do certain things,
Right.
suppose there is a group of people and I give you some instructions to be followed, you will find that everybody does the things in their own way. They are not
Right.
going to do the things in the same way because we are unique, and this shows that we have got something which other people don't have. And
Right.
if we don't explore that, if we don't explore ourselves, then I think we are going to we will then not be good enough then, because somewhere we have lost that identity of ours. So this is what we're going to talk about. The topic is, which we have today for discussion is that should we try to be like others, or should we try to be like ourselves, right?
Right.
So Robin, before we go deeper into the topic, I want you to say something about the same, and then we'll be discussing the different things which will help people understand their uniqueness. Over to you.
Okay. Good evening to you and good evening to everyone. Okay. Let me say one thing here because uh, this is very, I think, depressive or unfortunate that people are trying to imitate others for sometimes, no reasons. And maybe they have reasons, but they end up being something else or someone else, which they are not truly. And as you rightly said, that they somewhere lose their own identity. And I think this is the biggest loss in life. We really don't realize this loss, but if you are not you and you have become something else, then I think you have lost that original touch, the
Yeah.
very natural aspect, right? And in this way your credibility is somewhere goes decline, whether people accept it or not. But in the world of business, your credibility is what that
Yeah.
determines your overall position, your overall status, and also decides whether people must come in contact with you, even they try to extend their hands for the purpose of doing some businesses or establishing some social or familiar relationship. So it's really important to maintain one's own identity.
Yeah.
And one more important thing, which I always appreciate about those people who are really, uh, very natural, and they have their, you know, uh, very kind of self, understanding, right? In this way we understand these people really create some positive impressions on the mind of people, and they are also treated as some unique figures in the society, because when you are you, you are doing one thing very positive with you, is that you are accepting yourself, without ifs and words, which is also, I think, a way to show gratitude or express gratitude to what, to whom, the God itself,
Yeah.
because we everyone know that we all are different in some or other ways. People who realize this fact, they accept it with all alacrity without showing any objection in that, and they accept it, they embrace themselves the way they are, and thereafter finding their drawbacks, they work on it and improve themselves, right? But those who really don't accept this very fact, and they are on the race of becoming something, then they lose their own self, as well as they lose the entire credibility, right, in the society. So it's a great loss, that I'll say. And I think people must be intact with their original identity, without doing any artificial decoration on it. The more you do embellishment which doesn't suit you, you are going to be uh, you know I mean, treated as someone absurd and awkward, as many people say. In fact, you have seen or experienced it these days, that in the name of communication, or in the name of becoming a fluent person, many Indians and people from other countries are hell bent on emulating, foreign accents.
Yeah.
And in this way, they are ending up being some silly goose, right? And I don't know whether you have heard it or not, but those foreigners, those native speakers, often consider this section of people completely unworthy of respect and regard, because when you become someone, you are losing your own identity. And in fact, when you imitate someone who really doesn't belong to your society, as has as having no particular connection or correlation with you, because of the fact that they have lived on some other part of the land, and then you are imitating them, then you are actually defying and being disregarding, or disgraceful to their own cultural identity. So in this way, people lose everything. They are disrespected, they are disregarded by many of the people who really understand the value of it. So that's what I have to say on this. Over to you.
And sometimes we think that if we don't conform to the society and the society and our societal norms, we will not be accepted by people.
Right.
I mean, I remember an incident. It's a story actually. So why am I saying this? Telling this a story because somewhere it is related to the point which we are going to discuss next, right? So generally, we find it difficult to know our self-worth, and we get to know the self-worth when we start believing in ourselves. And this
Right.
belief comes when you've done something. We When you place that faith in yourself, and then you do something, and then you get to know what you are made of. So what happened, there was a student, he was very lazy, and he would always find it difficult to solve the mathematical sums, right? So the teacher who would teach him or teach the students, while the class would go on, he would just fall asleep because he was taking no interest in the class, thinking that he had no capability, he had no ability to do the maths, right? So this day, the teacher was going to give some homework, and the exercise which he taught, he couldn't no see that because he was sleeping that time. And when the class was over, he suddenly got up, and then he found that the homework was written on the board. So
Right.
the teacher said, those who will do this exercise will be considered the most intelligent person, right? But the fact was that the sums he gave could not be solved by anybody. And now, because he was also told that he would be punished if he doesn't
Right.
come prepared and he doesn't finish the homework, right? So the next day, because he thought that he would be punished, he found that he should be giving it a shot at least, and then he should be coming up with some solutions. And throughout the night, he burned the midnight oil, he kept studying hard and practicing hard, and eventually he did all those sums, and then happily went school the next day. And the teacher found that the student who was known to be the laziest student in the class was able to do all those sums. And the fact was those sums could not be done by anybody else, but this boy who had never taken any interest in the class could do that. The fact was he was very much scared of the punishment, because he thought if he didn't do that, he would be punished for not being able to do all those sums. And the thing I'm trying to convey is that there is enormous strength in us, there is enormous
Right.
talent in us. The need for us is to go inward, turn inward, and then find out all those hidden and latent talent which is
Right.
already there in us. So the point which we have to discuss is, why do people find it difficult to like themselves? Because it's often seen that people are not at all satisfied with their lives. They're not satisfied, they have got so many complaints, like they are not good enough, they're not as talented as their peers are, or they think that they're not as handsome or as beautiful as other people are. They are, they're short heighted, they're so they are fat, or they've got so many things. They just want to be the perfect one. And then
Right.
there is no definition of perfect. There is no perfection, actually. What I believe is, because you will always find that we have got some sort of shortcomings that we were born
Right.
with. There is nobody who was born perfect. I
Right.
haven't seen any such person. I've got so many shortcomings. You have got so many shortcomings, right? And other people have many shortcomings. The thing is that we should be trying hard to overcome all those shortcomings, and we should be turning those shortcomings into our strengths. And this is
Right.
how we can then start liking ourselves. So now you will tell me, why do people find it difficult, or they struggle to like themselves?
Okay, let's understand this in this way. First of all, we must admit this very fact that we humans, you know, have a kind of a strange psychology. I won't say it's strange, but it's a rather common psychology. And what the psychology is that many people, when I say many, it means majority of people,
Yeah,
are really not satisfied in themselves. Why? Because they really, you know, don't find this level of satisfaction. Even if you ask them that why they are not satisfied, they will be having a number of reasons for why do they feel so. Even in the eyes of many, these people are complete, as what
yeah,
happens with sometime us, right? That we find someone full of you know everything, which means a complete personality. But if you ask that person personally, this person will not be even satisfied a bit. So this is human psychology. First of all, we need to understand, but the question arises how this human psychology develops. Now, when I was reading, one book, Theory of Everything, and I stumbled upon very fine statement being made by, Stephen Hawking's, right? The famous, famous scientist he was. And he was talking about, understanding and learning of cosmology, right? So there was a discussion pertaining to, frame of reference.
yeah,
So someone asked him, what is the frame of reference to understand the entire universe or this cosmological events? And he laughed and he said that what you call a frame of reference is just a kind of notion which changes according to mind of a person, which means, for example, earlier there was a notion when we were trying to consider this entire uh, planet or this solar system is heliocentric or helicentric, which means that the sun is revolving around the earth. So we put then earth at the center, and when taking earth as a frame of reference, we are doing a study and doing a lot of observations about other planets, but what was at the center was only earth. And thereafter came sun at the center. Then we started learning and studying about all those planets which are revolving around the sun. So the question arose then, that why it is so. Earlier, it was Earth being considered as the center for study or observation, and then the sun became the center of study. Then people came out with different, uh, justifications. One said that just because of it is the gravity of the sun that actually binds all these planets to it, and consistently provide this gravitational force. With the help of this gravitational force, all these planets are properly aligned to their orbits, right? So therefore the credit must be given to the sun, because it is just because of the gravitational force which is emitting right from the sun, and with the help of this entire planet system are somewhere working and revolving around the sun. Then many people started saying yes and accepted this very fact. But then next question arose: how the sun got this gravitational force? So sun has a big mass, we all know. But
Yeah.
if you go the entire Milky Way galaxy, then you will find there are a number of big stars,
Yeah.
far I think we can't even have a correct calculations of, yes, really I don't know about the correct calculations, but they are manifold in size to the sun, manifold, right? Now these suns certainly give this gravitational force to the sun itself, and that's how all these entire galaxies are chained together, right? So one is taking energy from one. That is how the entire equation is set up. So the thing which we need to understand is that frame of reference. Now since we tried to understand this frame of reference, to understand what the cosmological understanding and this setup, now, when we apply this very concept, frame of reference in our personal life, I think this thing will be easy for us to understand why people have these opinions about themselves, that they are wrong, they are somewhere incomplete, and they need to be someone other. Like, it is just because of this very concept of frame of reference. This frame of reference is a point for every person upon which any person tries to evaluate oneself. So, for example, in the society, what we are taught is basically becomes our entire, you know, mentality, right?
Yeah.
Our entire mental speculation works on what? It simply works on the entire study, the entire, frame of reference which are set up in the society, and every person is being guided and governed by this frame of reference. For example, if someone is becoming successful, then thereafter comes a question that what are those important traits of someone who is called to be a successful. Then we find out that yes, he should be hardworking, he should be rich, thereafter he should be very well famous popular personality, he should be having enormous energy or powerful, he must be having or enjoying certain status, right? So these are all points come out as a frame of reference, and evaluating ourselves whether we are going consistently with this frame of reference or not. We actually evaluate entire personality of ours. If we find we are fitting well in the system, we get confident, we become more optimistic, we start behaving like more an ebullient personality full of sanguine attitude, right? And when we don't find that, yes, we are somewhere lacking due to just those shortcomings which we really don't find in other personalities whom we call super successful people, then we start getting depressed. I mean, this kind of despondency sets in,
Yeah.
and people become very morose, right? Because they really don't find something good about them, and that's how they start becoming more hopeless, right? So all these things work only on one concept, and that is frame of reference. So, therefore, since you asked me this question, why people do have this very notion, that too of a very negative nature, as why they are not satisfied with oneself, why do they find themselves incomplete personality? Then this is just because of the frame of reference. Our mind, remember, we were talking once about what? One philosophy, and that was existentialism,
Yeah.
Astitvadika. What this you know what we learn from this, we know that thereafter there first comes the existence, and thereafter comes the essence. So first your existence comes, and thereafter the essence. You can refer to certain number of events that happens in our life. So we as a person existing on this planet are having our personal identity, our personal way of understanding things. But our personal way of understanding and observing things are not particularly belonging to us. In other words, it is not at all, independent. It is somewhere, based or relied upon all those number of channels which we call sources of information, sources of knowledge, and upon which we really try to evaluate ourselves. We try to, understand ourselves, who we are, why judging ourselves, juxtapositioning us with other people whom we call successful people, right? And if we find it's all okay, we are matching with those qualities which are said to be the major traits of the successful people, we become very positive about it, right? So this frame of reference is that concept which deals with this very psychology, and this psychology of a human or a person is what which makes these people feel bad for a reason, that if they are not having certain traits in them just because of other people are having, or if they have this, they really feel or take a pride in that, right? Now the question comes in, which I really want to make it here, that why we can't have this frame of reference to something different from the commonly standardized concept, which means, as Osho says, this is your life, and to understand this entire life, you have to understand it through your own mediums, through your own personal understanding. What Gautam Buddha says, I think very much similar to Osho's.
Yes.
Gautam Buddha says that you don't need to read anything, or you don't need to listen to anyone. If you really want to understand and accept these scriptures or sacred books, you better go and read your own self and try to have your own specific interpretation of it, and then try to understand this entire cosmology, this entire universe, and how it functions, right? So in the same way, we must have this this reference, frame of reference. We should not be bothered about what we are taught, what is the basic norm of the society. That is what is more important is that whenever we are in the process of determining something new frame of reference to evaluate ourselves, it's better that we should not be doing at least something which is hurtful or injurious to other, which is causing a certain kind of threat or a menace to the existence of other. That is what should be in our consideration, and otherwise we are all independent personality full of existentiality, and we must use it. And that's what I have to say on this part. Over to you.
And when we say that, why do we struggle to like ourselves? The first thing I would like to say is that we always try to get all those external validation from people. I mean, if somebody else says that I'm good enough, then I would then think that yes, I'm good enough. And if they say that I don't have certain qualities in myself, then I would say yes, I'm lacking in these qualities. It means we don't have any faith in ourselves. We don't actually believe in ourselves, and that's why we are always dependent on somebody else. If somebody says that you're looking good, I will be happy because they have started giving their they are validating this thing. And if I think that I'm looking good and the person doesn't say this, then I would be very sad because I don't my appearances don't make the person happy, right?
Right.
The other thing which is really common these days, that we always draw comparisons, and this
Right.
comparison will always if you keep comparing yourself with other people, you'll find that you are feeling yourself is small all the time, because there is no parity in this world. What I have realized in my life is, for example, take your own hand, and you'll find that these fingers which are there in our which are there, right, they're not the same size, because this shows that there is no parity, there is no similarity in this world. We are somewhere we will be lacking in one thing. Or if perfection is there, then you would never be trying to explore, to go
Hmm.
deeper, right? And this imperfection is really important. Why? Because this imperfection will always help you go deeper and try to find out all those gems of knowledge, all those important aspects which may be hidden from you because you haven't explored. The
Right.
next thing, that comes into play is that what happens, this is my own experience. For example, when I was studying, I study every day, but what I found that my writing, I mean, I'm not talking about handwriting, I'm talking about writing skills, that was not at all good. And I'll always think that I cannot write anything, and I kept looking for the ways which could help me develop
Studies mind.
this writing and writing skills. And I found that people would write very florid, using florid words, and the structures, they are so mesmerizing, but I was lacking all those things. But when I did deep analysis of this, that I cannot become a good writer overnight. I will have to learn all those, necessary, you can say the nuts and bolts of writing. I should know that. Only then I can become a good writer. And then I started doing the analysis. And one more thing, I had been writing for almost 10 years. And now I think that yes, I can also write. So if we are, giving knee-jerk reaction to the people's, you can say,
Yeah.
piece of advice, or if their words, I think we will always be hurting ourselves, and we'll be, this will dazzle us. I mean, we will be blinding to all those good aspects of our life,
Right.
right? So this is important. I mean, somewhere this is not actually taught in school, neither in schools nor in colleges,
Right.
nor in our own family. What, that we are not we are so busy in ourselves that we are learning this and that, but we have never done self analysis,
Right.
right? We never do self assessment, and as a result we always find that we are lacking in everything. We haven't got anything we can be very proud of, right?
Right.
And this always forces us to dislike us, because we
Right.
find that everybody is perfect. If you talk about this, as I talked about drawing comparisons, so we are living in this digital world. I mean, social media always, people on social media always makes you feel, they always make you
Right.
feel that their life is perfect and yours is imperfect,
Right.
right? They always show the best moments, and they are, edited moments, right? They have done so much editing, and then
Right.
they are making you feel that everything is going fine in the life, and you are the one who is lacking in everything. I mean,
Right.
nothing good is happening in your life, and this always makes you feel that everything is going, the opposite way, and
Right.
you start hating, kind of hating yourself. And
Hmm.
when this happens, you will somewhere be feeling diffident, and this diffidence will never let you go. It will never
Right.
let you rise above yourself and your shortcomings. And so if you want to feel proud in whatever we do. So, one thing I would say, because nobody is going to make you feel good. If they are
Right.
in, if they do, then they may be very few people. They
Oh,
can be counted on our
right.
fingertips, right? Everybody is there to pick holes in you, right?
Hmm.
So whenever you do something, no matter how big or how small it is, but you should be thanking, you should be patting yourself on the back. That is important, because if you don't boost your own morale, I think people, you won't find other people doing the same for you. So
Hmm.
you should be supporting yourself. You should be trying to feel good, that yes,
Right.
I decided that I would do this, and I did that. So it's an achievement. Why do you always look for big achievements? There are small things which can help you build some confidence, and this
Right.
will help you uh, learn to achieve big goals, right? Because I always believe in doing small. Start small, right? Start small. Don't always aim at don't always go for the ultimate goal. You have to divide it in steps, and then you can get there, right?
Right.
Somewhere I came across this quote that try to aim at the moon.
Hmm.
You hit, you'll at least ending up hitting the star, right?
Right.
So if you fail, at least you did something. अगर अगर फेल ही होना है तो just fail, in a very big way, right?
Right.
And that will give you some kind of confidence. The next thing we will discuss is, do you think that imitation hinders personal growth?
Okay, so first, let me make my position here and then I'll extend my position. First, of course, it does, and it does it immensely, significantly. And we need to understand, few reasons why it is so. Since we all know that we all are the creations of one superpower, we can call it God or on some divine force, right? But at the same time, we also admit, many people admit it, some people are there also living in ignorance that they never admit this, that we all are, equal. And yes, understandably, we are all equals, but there are certain differences in each of us, which, separates us from each other. It may be our way of observing this world. It may be our, you know, presenting ourselves. It may be our traits, or it may be something else, your appearance, your overall thought process. There are n number of things and plenty of things
Yeah,
which really lay down a ground on which a person can be well differentiated from the other person sitting next to him. And people who accept this fact, they will realize why it was so important to admit this fact. So let's start, this process of understanding why it is so dangerous and overall very, threatening to one's existence. See, when I say one's existence, I mean threatening to one's existence. I'm not just, uh, trying to infer that one is going to lose his existence or one is going to die. But it is also pretty acceptable that one who loses one's originality can be recognized as someone different, right? And when you are not you, then what you have become of, I think, will be two different scenarios or will be two different things, right? So we
yeah.
need to understand this very, fact. Now, the point which I'm trying to make here is that when we try to become someone else, we need to, admit this, that it is time consuming, energy consuming process. Why it is time consuming and energy consuming? It is very simple to understand this whole, situation and whole this mechanism and how it works. When you are trying to be someone else, you are putting extra efforts
Yeah,
on what? On becoming someone which you are not you, which means you are totally going against your own nature.
and that doesn't come easy.
And that doesn't come easy. It is very abominable. Don't you find it's very loathing that you are going against your own nature? God has sent you here on this planet with some specific traits, with some specific, understandings, with some specific, identities for which you must be known. But just because of you have, uh, you know, uh, accepted some frame of reference and you have evaluated yourself according to that frame of reference, and now you are hell bent on changing and whole converting yourself into someone else, which you call positively a great transformation. But in reality, is not a transformation. It is completely a changing of personality from one into other. And when you try to be someone else, you are not just losing your personality, but you are losing a lot of things. You are, as I've told you, you are going to lose your energy. Now, converse this entire situation and understand how it could be even more impactful if you were you without making any attempts to be becoming someone else. As we know very well that we all are with some specific energy with us, and we discretionally, using our intelligence, need to put this energy into action very sensibly so that we could reap the most out of this energy. Now, if we transact in this way to be becoming something else, using this energy as a fuel to progress our personality into becoming something else, then don't we think that we are losing this very energy, this very fuel of life, which could be even more constructive and productive if we had used it into something worth doing task, isn't it? We people who really are sitting at the top or in some high order of life, trust me, they have realized this very fact. You can call them all those spiritual gurus who are truly gurus. You can call them divine soul. You can call them anyone, but they have realized this fact because the way they have seen this entire world, I think, is always different, is always unique from the one has done it before.
Yeah.
Our experiences will definitely be different from the experiences of other. In fact, if you read one book called The General Psychology, there is a complete study and observation, done in this particular book by Sigmund Freud, a famous psychologist. He says it is not your genes which is only causing you to be something. Of course it does, but to a certain extent. So our ancestors' genes, which is now transmitting into us, are, yes, making ourselves bit similar to our ancestors, right? But apart from this gene transmission, there is also one more thing which is equally contributing and is treated as a constituent of becoming a personality, to become a certain personality, is the environmental factor.
Yeah.
Environmental factor contributes much to make a person something. So if you are surrounded by a certain or a specific, mindsets which are coercing you, compelling you that you are not complete, you are this, you are that, and therefore you need to work hard. In the name of working hard, you need to be something else or someone else, and then you'll be, termed as a successful person. Now, when we accept them, then what we are going to do as a result of it, we will try to put all that energy into it and we will work hard into becoming someone else, right? So we will be losing our original identity, we will be losing our energy, and at the end of the day, we are going to be just a frustrated soul and nothing else. And whatever we will be, but sure we won't be, credited with something which we really desire for. The way Gautam Buddha was treated, the way Osho was treated, the way Jiddu Krishnamurti was treated, the way scientist Einstein was treated, I think we probably would not be like those people because their identities, their ways, their conducts in their life are all different from many of the people because they realized their own potential.
Yeah.
For example, many people know something very quirky about Einstein,
Yeah.
that this man himself being a renowned, physicist and a very popular, person having a high degree of intelligence, was also the one who was not able to capture this geographical, conditions, which means his geographical understanding was very weak. As I was reading something about him, in which it was written that Einstein was very weak in actually uh, in observing the geographical regions. So for example, if he's sitting in one place and he travels to other place, so he'll be confused, right, to go back to the initiative point, right? His geography understanding was very weak. In fact, he was not able to take off, I mean, to tie his shoelace, right? It is He was not able to do that. In
Hmm.
fact, one of the movies called Tare Zameen Par was also one of the movies in which
Yeah.
many of those
In which he was not the boy
dyslexia.
who was that he was not able to tie the
Yes,
shoelace.
he was a patient of dyslexia,
Dyslexia.
not able
Yes.
to he was not able to write it properly.
Yes.
So if imagine, and we need to put ourselves in his place and then see how we were or we would be reacting if we were in that particular place. So many people, if were in his place and had taken all these people's advice seriously, then I think, you know, he has certainly, ended up his life. But he had his own vision. He saw the entire world through his own eyes. He never let any frame of reference which was socially accepted on him to be working on. And he never was like in this very love to be guided and governed by this frame of reference, because he had his own frame of reference. So therefore I say that it's really, dangerous for a person who comes and tries to, imitate other. It's okay to be influenced by a person whom we really admire, but it's not always right to be becoming like him, because you and the personality whom you admire are both a different personality. Their background is a different from yours background. His
Yeah,
financial condition is far
everything
different
is
from yours.
completely different.
Your his Yes,
How we can compare ourselves with that person, because we
absolutely.
are different in all terms.
A- I mean, his environmental conditions in which he was brought up might not be similar as yours.
Yes,
Then
yes.
how you can be so much? Sometimes don't we think that we become so much harsh
Yeah,
towards, ourselves, just because of we have been put into this competitive race, and someone is like, you know just like forcing us to be someone like this. And if you don't keep keep doing work hard, right? And in this way many people, somewhere succumb to this pressure. Many people do adjust somewhere in this, but they start having some mental issues too. Some people are really hard. I think they are not very emotional. They are highly practical, and they somewhere, manage to survive in this competitive era. But there are many who really miserably fail, and who are the responsible for all these people who really succumb to this kind of man-made environment, which is really coercing and full of cruelty in this way. So I really don't support this very imitation as a practice one should adopt. Rather, we must be influenced, but we need to, you know give due considerations to all these, factors which put each of us apart from each other, on these grounds that yes, we are different from them, and therefore there is no comparison. And since there is no comparison, it's better that we live our own life and try to find a value in life according to our own personal experiences, right? In fact, one thing is very popular, becoming very popular and getting very popular these days. Teach Parents are being taught, and many seminars are being conducted.
yeah.
For what? That they should not be coming harsh on their
On
kids,
the kids, yes,
especially
to go for a
why,
certain subject.
for on a certain subjects, and especially for scoring high marks,
Yes.
just because of his peer is doing something, remarkably good in his class. So there should be a proper, balance in this, and we must not be treating our children in that way. I think this is one of those, important, I think, acceptable example which clear everything. I think this particular point, on this point, over to you.
I came across a joke where a person was trying very hard to be like other people, and found himself to be completely devastated. What happened? One day he was walking, and he was just trying to be like other people, and he found that it was raining, and he suddenly fell in the mud, and then he started blaming God. क्या गॉड, एक तो कीचड़ में गिरा दिया, ऊपर से फ्लैश भी लेके मेरे फोटो खींच रहे हो, राइट? So it was light thing actually. So he said that you are clicking photos with a flash, right? This happens actually. Even I can tell my own, I can give my own example. When I passed my 12th, I was under pressure. I mean, because we are on a crossroads when you pass, your 12th, and then we have to decide, because one
Right.
decision can change your entire life. So I was quite under pressure, right? I thought that if I go for maths, should I go for maths? Should I go for bio? Should I go for commerce? Should I go for arts? But then I gave myself some space. I mean,
Mm.
why? Because the family was, family pressure was there, that they were thinking that I should be going for some government jobs. I should not be going for commerce and all. And I there is no commerce background in the family. So why should I go for that? and they were not expecting me to go for
Hmm.
arts. So I when I gave myself some time, and then I thought that what I'm good at, right? Because if they impose their own wishes on me, I think I would be overburdened. I
Right.
cannot, and this is very true that I cannot make everybody happy with myself,
Right.
because if they are happy, I'll be sad. If I'm sad, they're happy. So one has to be sad and one has to be
Right.
happy. So I come across many parents who always force their kids to score very high marks and to go for certain subjects. I always
Right.
tell them that this is what actually you are fulfilling your own dreams through these people, through these kids.
Right.
Stop doing this because you
All
have lived
right.
your life and you are living your life. Now you cannot live. If
You're
they are
becoming
living,
selfish.
yeah, if they are living, you can say that yes,
Right.
my son is this and my daughter is this, but he would
Hmm.
not be living that life. So stop doing this. At least let them live their life, right?
Uh,
Because if I am very much into language, I'm being supposed to be a doctor. How can I
right.
be? Right?
Right.
Because this is my forte, I can do this,
Uh,
I can do well right here. If I'm so much into, speaking, I should
right.
be I should be given this chance to do this, right? Why you are wanting me to become a doctor? And generally parents start comparing the kids with their, if their son, you can say if their brother's son
Hmm.
has become something like that, they want
Hmm.
their own son or daughter to be like them, because somewhere
Right.
they'll be feeling that let me our kids are lagging behind.
Hmm.
So they started a comparing, and this is a bad thing. And here we lose everything, because this is you also know you are good at speaking, you are good at dealing with people, and if you are suddenly asked by somebody to do something else which is not at all your area, which is not at all your domain, how can
Hmm.
you excel in that particular domain? This is going to be
Right.
impossible. You may try, but you will be exerting all your energy, but you will
Hmm.
not be able to come up to their expectations, because somewhere it
Hmm.
is not your forte, right? So imitation is always going to leave you sad, and it is going to leave you it is going to make you a failure. There is no
Right.
doubt about it. And when somebody fails, this can erode the whole confidence of a person, and then they start self doubt, this doubting themselves, and the self doubt makes the matters worse, right?
Right.
So if we want not to fall prey to such external validation, or if we want, if we become people pleaser, I think we are going to do injustice with ours.
Right.
I think this is going to be quite difficult, and this may cost very dear, right? Now next thing we want to discuss
Agree.
is
Can you?
the next thing which we have to discuss is, because this is the digital world we are living in. So this is that very much crucial to discuss this particular point. And the point is the impact of social media on self acceptance, how this affects a person's ability to accept themselves.
Hmm. Can you please
The
speak?
impact of social
Hello?
media, the impact of
Okay.
social media
Okay.
on self acceptance.
Okay. Uh, right. And in fact, one thing is undeniably a fact thing is this: social media, plays a very vital role in shaping one's uh, thought process. We are somewhere surrounded, by these number of social networking sites. In fact, a large data is being transacted through social networking sites, as well as these news channels and newspapers are considered to be fine sources of knowledge and information. So we somewhere are, dealing with these things in our mundane life, right? So we are going to be influenced and affected by it, undoubtedly, right? Now we need to, accept this failure. I would rather use the word failure, because on this front social media has really somewhere failed to meet up its responsibility as the fourth pillar of the democracy. As we have discussed a lot as to how people think, in a negative about themselves and become depressive because of a certain force that works upon them and which keeps nagging at the person that you should be like this and you are not an acceptable figure in the society, and therefore you need to work harder more. You could be even an another famous personality like him. All these things are treated as the part of life, and people, become I think whether willingly or unwillingly, but they have to accept these things and they have to try to fit themselves into these parameters and try to work hard a lot. At the end of the day, we all know the result that people really uh, find it hard as well as they succumb to all these things. Many a time we see. But why I'm, hurling my criticism, especially against this social media or this media channel, is that because the way they present a certain personality, it is so overwhelming.
Yeah.
And since humans are purely sometimes governed by emotions, they really don't apply their intelligence in identifying the latent truth or the hidden truth behind it. They, I think, benignly accept it without questioning it. And they like move themselves on that particular track and start becoming that personality or like that personality and end up being nothing, losing his own personality itself. So first of all, I would say that social media, must, understand its responsibility on this front and should not exaggerate, certain figures as the only reality that exists on this universe. What is worse on this is that all this thing is done only for some money. As we all know that how one person is, forcefully, you know presented in the media as to be a more popular personality, and thereafter a large number of people start following this person. In fact, most of the, actors and actresses actually do this with their own kids to make their kids popular in as
Yeah.
a public figure. They often do some kind of these tactics that they keep publishing some articles about their kids, all these kinds of videos, photos, and all these captures that really are done by a very expert photo videographer, and they always present in that way which looks more mesmerizing, right, to people, and these people start following it. But this media really comes out as a bridge that actually connects both of these and makes one party a complete subordinate as the one who is to be influenced, and makes other party is the influencer, regardless of the fact whether the person really consists of those important and some specific traits which are seen as constituting factors of making someone a successful personality. So I think social media needs to be very cautious about it, and they must play act out of their moral duty rather than their monetary advantages. If they do that, I think we will be able to capture the real essence of life. And in this way, many people would be somewhere, living their own life without being dependent on the ideas of other and having their own, frame of references, and maybe perhaps be more healthy than they are now. Over to you.
Yeah, we are on the same wavelength over here. When you said that the media's role is to connect, but instead of connecting, it has with this distorted, information. You can say that many of the things are distorted,
Hmm.
and this distortion has led many people to believe things which I don't know, which is not the reality. For example, nowadays, what I see these days that even the students who are in class 8 are going to do gym, right? This is not the time when they should be doing it, because they have got a lot to study. They should be they can go running, they can go jogging instead of going to gyms, because they have seen people that they are showing their biceps, their triceps, they're showing their muscles, abs and all. And they are so heavily influenced by these people, because nowadays people are just exposing their body, right? Showing that they're so muscular. So they just fall prey to these people, and they start going to gyms. A student who is just in class 8th is very, I think, very young, and he doesn't need to go to a gym, right? So, and one more thing I would love to say is they're carrying Android phones in their pockets, and they are in just class 7th and 6th and 8th. So they're carrying. Why do these kids want to carry all these gadgets? Because somewhere they just want to maintain the status which they
Right.
think they should be doing, because the people of their own age are also doing the same thing, and they feel inferior to these people if they don't have all these things. So how do this what has led them to believe this? Because oftentimes they come across people who are showcasing, you can say, they're flashing the wealth, they are just showing off, and they think that they should also be doing the same thing. The
Right.
next thing which we have to discuss is, tell me, is self-likability the key to long-term happiness, or
Self, sorry.
self-likability, when you
Okay.
start liking yourself? So is it going to be the a key factor to give you lasting happiness?
Obviously, I think considered to be one of the most positive, step that one could take. Why do we often say that it's better to be positive than to be living with a negative mindsets?
Yeah.
And what about all that manifestation that we read through Gita and through many psychologists, that what you keep thinking about yourself, you end up being the same, right? So it's better to be go with this very part, having a positive, adopting a positive aspect of yours and follow it, accept it, right? In such a way there where you could really present yourself on this particular front, right? So what is important and what is positive about being about liking oneself is that first we accept the way we are. This is very important. I think this particular sentence sounds to be very common, but it's really difficult to do so.
Yes.
We, however, know what we are and who we are, but we really don't accept it in public. We rather present ourselves in a more pretentious manner. And why do we do that? Because we want to create certain impressions on people.
Impression on them.
And obviously, because we want to earn some business, we want to establish certain connection with the people, we want to ingratiate with some people for some personal benefits. These are
Yes.
possible reasons why do we feel so, right? All these things are somewhere, uh, set to be the downfalls, or which lead people to downfall, to disintegrate sooner or later. People who are very well, you can say, awakened with their intelligence and consciously awakened, they know this very fact, and therefore they come out you know openly in the public, and they really don't hide anything about themselves. I think this has been pretty trend, in very trend, that if you meet with some famous Bollywood stars or Hollywood stars who have reached to that acme of their career, and also inspired millions of people, having billions people following them, they will always be representing themselves in public as a true personality of who they are in reality. In fact, if you have noticed, one Tollywood actor Rajnikant, he is a very famous
Yeah,
artist and an
yeah, in
actor.
South he's very famous.
His family, his overall appearance in movie is something else from how he looks in
Yeah,
real life,
I've seen. Yeah.
and he never shies off in showing this very original appearance,
Yeah.
especially when he approaches to people for the purpose of addressing them or becoming a part of a certain event. He goes the way he is
Yeah.
without doing any makeup or any artificial decoration on him. Nothing that's to be hidden, according to him. He's almost a bald actor, but he never uses all these things in public. Many actors do that. So this is called, reality. This is therefore I say, why it takes courage to accept of who we are. It's you who knows your shortcomings. It is me sitting here against you having many shortcomings in me. It's only me who know about it.
Yeah.
But my courage, my bravery will decide how brave and audacious I am to reflect and to display all these, shortcomings, what is in me publicly, with one purpose that I could somewhere improve it. So people who are open minded, people who really don't shy, people who don't find any hesitation in doing a presentation of who they are with the purpose of gaining some improvement from other people are truly an inspirational figure, according to me. And I think this is why we should, you know adopt ourselves, embrace ourselves of who we are, rather than, like I mean um, unnecessarily pushing up harder to be becoming something else, or to be thinking negative about oneself, because on both ways there is nothing to gain. So why we should not, adopt the first way, which is at least the one that ensures some positive, results at the end of the day. So therefore I always support to be liking about oneself is always a better step towards life ahead. Over to you.
And the stronger your bond is with yourself, the happier you'll be within, right?
Right.
Because you don't have any, you can say, control over the people. If people who are now behaving nicely with you and who are nice to you say something bad about you, you'll be feeling, quite depressed, and you'll be
Right.
feeling quite resented, because you expect so much from them,
Right.
and this will really make you unhappy. But if you are happy with it, means with yourself and within yourself, then I think, such remarks are not going to resent you, they're not going to offend you, and you will be composed, you will be calm, and you'll be, quite cool, right? Then the last but not the least question which we are going to discuss is, tell me, how can one shift from comparison to self appreciation? How can a person shift from comparison to self appreciation? This is very tough.
I think only one way out here, which I find could be uh, a way, or a kind of, I think, medium that could help people to be becoming themselves. And that is through spiritual medium. I mean, why I'm telling spiritualism could be really uh, a worthy medium that could really help us realize why it is so important to embrace oneself. So when you understand, yourself through the prism of spirituality, we understand those subtleties of life. We try to understand those, lives that live in, moment. We understand the entire, uh, uh, fleeting nature of life. In other words, we can say we accept this, that our life is for the momentary period, and it is going to be popped off one day, and it's better to be with what you are, who you are, rather than wasting it into becoming something else or someone else. Because the time that you have been given is very fixed. Now it's your choice whether you want to waste it by doing a privileged use of it, or
Yeah.
becoming someone, or investing the same time into transforming yourself into a better version of who you are. So there are two things: to be becoming someone else whom you call a successful person, or second, to be becoming the better version of
Yourself.
oneself.
Yeah.
I think this second, I think alternative is worth accepting, and highly considerable. Highly evolved minds, and if you try to understand them and listen to them, they will always, be giving their consent on this very part, that it's better to be uh, okay with oneself, and do the maximum utilization of this time,
Yes.
and give people something which has not been served by other. In this way you will define life in your own way, right? So you have this opportunities in your hand. It's to your position, it's your overall, you can say idea or a decision, what you want to do or to make out of this life. Whether you want to whether you want yourself to be called as subordinate to someone, as the one who was only influenced and try to be becoming someone else, or you want to be an influencer to influence other, right? So I think it's better to be an influencer. And to be an influencer, first and foremost, one has to accept oneself, embrace oneself with all those shortcomings, with all those, drawbacks, and try to overcome all these things, and just live the life in a more spiritual manner. That's what I have to say.
I would love to share some anecdotes, but because there is very little time left, so I'll be sharing this with you in some of the videos. But for the timing, I would love to say is that we, by default, we are complete in ourselves. We're carrying the whole microcosm in us, and
Right,
that itself says that we don't need anything else. We don't need external validation, because you are you can say you are the creation of the infinite, right?
right,
And if he has created you, then there is nothing which you are lacking in. It's you who has to realize what you are, and what kind of things you've got, and the talent which is still untapped. You
right,
need to tap into that, and then you would find that you are better than other people in some terms, in some
right.
respect, right? So with this, I would love to take your leave, and we will come with the other exciting and insightful episodes in the days to come. Till then, I'm taking a leave. Good
Good night.
night.
Bye bye.